Hi everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make 3 cards using the same stamp set and the same pattern from Make It From Your Heart Volume 6. Okay, so the stamp that I'm going to use is called Merry Little Christmas. I'm going to use the Home for Christmas papers, and the pattern I'm going to use is pattern number 20 from Make It From Your Heart Volume 6. Okay, so let's get started. I've loaded the stamp into my MISTI, and I'm going to use these new iridescent embossing powders that are from Hero Arts. This one is iridescent gold, and I'm inking up that stamp with some Versamark ink, and I'm stamping on pine. So I've cut that at 2.5 by 3.5, and we'll go ahead and stamp out that image. And then we'll sprinkle our embossing powder on it. Now this is a really fine embossing powder, so make sure you treat your cardstock with some anti-static powder before stamping out in Versamark. And don't worry about that extra powder that's not, it winds up in places that it shouldn't be, but it's okay. I'll show you. So I'm going to heat this up with my heat tool and melt that embossing powder. And then I'm going to bring in an anti-static cleaning cloth and just buff it out. And that extra powder that winds up where it shouldn't be, it gets buffed out. So don't worry about it, okay? It freaked me out at first because it went everywhere. So don't worry. Then I'm going to bring in my colored pencils, and I'm going to color in some of the areas of the banner and just darken it so that the gold pops a little bit better. And I'll add a couple more colors and just bring out that design a little bit more with the colored pencils. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to cut some paper. So this embossed piece, my sentiment, is going to be framed by another piece. So I'm going to use this black chalkboard looking piece, and I think it's The Night Before Christmas is written out. So I'm going to cut that at 4.25 by 3.25, and that will be the base for my sentiment. And I'm going to bring in some pattern papers. So I like this plaid and then this piece that has poinsettias on it. And this is cut at 5.25 by 4. So we'll trim that out. So for the first card, I'm going to show the cutting of the paper, and then for the other two, it's the same pattern. So the cuts are the same. Okay, then you put it in your trimmer corner to corner and make that cut. Okay. So you'll do the same exact thing with the other pattern, and just be mindful of the angle that you place it in your trimmer so that it will match up. Okay, so that's going to go above like that. Make sure you cut it at the right angle. And then also be mindful of any patterns, and you want to make sure that your print is going to be in the right direction. This one has all over, so that wasn't a concern, but sometimes like the piece that has words on it, make sure that they're correct after you cut it. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in a white gel pen, and I'm going to create some stitch lines all the way around this embossed piece, just to kind of give it a frame and bring a little more attention to it so that it's not just floating on top of that chalkboard piece. Frame it out a little bit more. All right, so that's my basic card here, and we'll go ahead and start gluing things together. So I'm just going to use some wet glue, and it's in a fine tip bottle. And I like to use the wet glue with my cards because it feels like the card is a bit stronger, and then those corners will stay put. And it gives it overall more strength, I think. So we'll glue that down, and then we'll glue the chalkboard piece down. And then I'm going to pop that embossed piece with some foam tape. Super cute. Really easy design. And you can use all different kinds of patterns. So I'm going to put quite a lot of foam tape on this just because I don't want it to get squashed when it goes through the mail. So we'll place that down. And then I need a little sparkle. So these are really, really old. They're retired sparkles. They're the same size as the clear bitty sparkles. So you could get those and then color them with a red tri-blend marker, and you could get the same effect, but these are already red, and so I'm going to use them. I went into my stash and using some of those older products. So I scattered a bunch of those around. So pretty. It's hard to find the crystals and pearls that are super tiny, so found these. That looks good. All right, let's make another one. We're going to use the same pattern and the same stamp, but this time we're going to stamp in mocha ink on white daisy cardstock. So we'll get that stamped out. And the beauty of the Misty is if you miss a spot, you can stamp again in the same exact place. And then I'm going to ink it up again with mocha just to make sure it's nice and crisp and dark. Okay. Get the stamp cleaned up and out of the way. And I'm going to bring in some colored pencils again. So I'll speed this up in a second, or we'll skip ahead. And I'm just going to color in some of those holly leaves and the banner. So I'm pulling some reds and some greens. So we'll go ahead and color that in. And I'll speed this up in a second, and then we'll skip ahead. So I'll add some red to the banner. And I'm coloring really, I'm pressing hard because I want a nice, even, dark coloring on those images. Okay, we'll finish this up off camera in a second, and then we can move on. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in an older retired product. These are the Spectrum Noir paint pens, and this is in liquid gold. And I'm just going to trace around the edges of this image. And this one has the chisel point. The rounded point is easier to work with. So if you've got this set, it comes with 3 different sizes, and the rounded point is easier to do this technique. I just grabbed the chisel and I wanted to try it out. It wasn't as easy as the rounded tip to do the same effect around the edges. Noted. Next time. Okay, so I have all my pieces cut, and I have my card base from the value pack. This is a great, if you need card bases, you get 50 in a pack for a great price, and they're the right weight of card, and you get your envelope, so good to go. So you can bust out a whole bunch of cards using that value pack. I recommend it. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and layer everything up the same way. This time I'm using the plaid and that green foliage piece, and then a piece of that mocha wood grain, and popping that sentiment same as the other pattern. And now I'm going to add some of these tiny flat back gold pearls, and I got these on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below. It comes in all kinds of different sizes. So I picked the smallest ones. I scattered those all around just for a little pop of sparkle. All right, that one's all done. Okay, last card. I'm going to use this iridescent powder again from Hero Arts, and this time it's the iridescent blue. And I've already stamped it and melted it on this piece of Journey. So I'm going to ink over it with Journey ink. So I have my Altenew sticky mat and the image is in place, and I'm just going to ink over the whole image with Journey ink. So it's Journey ink on Journey cardstock, and it just makes that image pop once you add that color. So we'll get the mat cleaned up real quick. You just treat it like it's a giant stamp, so you can clean it with your stamp chamois. And then I'm just going to buff out this embossed area and remove the ink that was on top of it, and it just makes that image pop once you ink over it. Okay, all right, so my pieces, I pulled some gold glitter paper, and then I'm using the wood grain and that chalkboard piece for my 2 diagonal pieces. And now I've got my liquid gold pen, and this is the one that's a 0.7. It's got a fine tip, and I'm just drawing some stitch marks all the way around just to frame it out and give a little more attention to this sentiment. And then we'll go ahead and build our card. I have a card base that's 4.5 by 4.25 by 5.5. It's an A2 size, and we'll just start gluing everything together. It's a quick pattern. You can bust out a whole bunch of Christmas cards. Super easy. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little of this dark teal blue colored pencil to that banner to kind of make it pop just a little bit more before adding it with some foam tape. And then I'm going to bring in those tiny gold pearls again and scatter a whole bunch of those around. So cute. I'll have some close-up shots in just a second. So I'll make a list of all the supplies that I used. And here's all 3 cards. Same patterns, and they all look very different. I'll make a list of all the supplies that I used, and I'll add links in the description below. And these are available until the end of October. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And then you'd be able to find all of my videos. And thanks for watching.